Chuck Verstraeten, trombone player, who I remember poor Chuck getting so depressed in Kansas because there were no trees.
Cy Reeves played second or first tenor for a long time. Ding Ding played first and second tenor. James Van Ostenbridge. And George Pendergraft played bass later on in years.
Rick Wynett was the drummer.
Freddie Sherwood played trombone on the band. Oink Jackson played trombone. Harold Strasberg.
Tim Hoy, at one point, was back in town playing for his dad. So I got to know Tim a little bit, and that was kind of fun because, you know, here's the kid and putting up with his dad, and every now and then he'd roll his eyes when his dad would come over and, you know, make some kind of comment to the drummer. He was pretty tough on drummers. That was kind of the nature of the gig. You had to make the tempos right for the dancers and have the right feel, and he was very aware of that.
That's just some of it.
Don was all business. I mean, he wanted a business-like attitude from his players. He expected you to do a good job.
He had a bunch of sign language that he would give the drummer, you know.
What kind of sign language?
Oh, this meant if you wanted to play the afterbeat over the snare drum, and of course, but he would tell me when to play with brushes, or tell me when to play with sticks, or there were certain things that had to be done the same way every night, which is normal on a dance band. You'd think some things would like to be done at the same way, same pace.
To this day, when I pull a Hoyt chart and play it, the dancers flock to the floor. They just flock to the floor. And I've played enough casuals to know that you can play some big band stuff, but if your beat's too slow or your beat's too fast, they'll just sit there and talk. But with the Hoy, boom, they would hit the floor. And he would change keys at least 3 times and build that arrangement. And a lot of people don't do that anymore.
A lot of the stuff he wrote himself, and I've seen him write tunes without a keyboard or without an instrument, and he'd arrange the sections, driving, you know, somebody be driving, and he was writing out parts in the bus.
And if you play with a lot of bands, some are very good, and some are very Mickey Mouse, but Hoy's charts, and Scott alluded this to, and so did Dave Puffett, there really are works of art, especially if you play them right and you play them warmly. And some of them are just pedantic to serve a purpose, but some of them are very musical. And he did win a Downbeat Award, which I do like to tell people. 1958, and I believe it was number 6 in the book, Dave, correct me. And it's Love Walked In, number 6 in the book, was his Downbeat Award winner.
I remember one time, I think we were at the Fort Des Moines Hotel, and Don and a trumpet player named Charlie Flanders used to play some duets on the gig, and they had something. I'd never heard this before, and it was a deal. It just went on and on and on between the trumpets and I think it was Nick Vaughan's piano playing. And then I noticed Don didn't have any music. He was playing. He'd never played it before, and he was playing this long thing without music. And what it turned out to be was a number called "The Happening" that the Supremes, Diana Ross and the Supremes, had a recording of the Happening. That's what the thing turned out to be. Well, as far as I know, he never used it again. But a week or so later, I asked him about this. And he said, well, I had to write out a part for Flanders to play, the second trumpet part for him to play. And in the process of writing out the second trumpet part, he memorized the first trumpet part. Didn't need to write it down. He had it up here in his head. That just blew my mind.
I always felt he was very musical. He could scratch out a chart He played very good trumpet. He had a nice tone, nice full tone. Played lead trumpet on his own band. As I remember, he sang a few tunes too, and he had a nice singing voice. And he sold the band. Of the local bands here, I think he was by far the most popular, and most popular maybe in the Midwest. He had a following in St. Joe, and people came to hear Don's band, and he was a personality.
And a lot of jazz musicians came through him. And years later, he told me, too, that he liked the jazz musicians if you could control them, and he'd do that grin of his. But I think what he meant was they add a lot of life and professionalism to the chart. And if you get a lesser player of lesser ability, the magic wouldn't be there.